The first area that I want to talk about is that training of the human resource capital that we have. There has been no adequate training of the teachers who are supposed to be the key implementers of CBC. The teachers need to be trained in terms of how they can identify those particular learners so that the talents of the learners can be tailored towards what they are good at. So the identification process is such a challenge because CBC is all about enhancing or nurturing the learner's potential. If they are not identified adequately, then the teachers will end up not nurturing the learner's potential. We know the vision and the mission of the CBC. So the teachers need adequate training in terms of how they can implement CBC, in terms of how they can come up with the tools that they can use in assessing the learners, in terms of how they can assess the learners well. So if they are not trained well, then the teachers will end up not implementing CBC. And that is why we talk of CBC being outside the classroom. So inside the classroom, we do not have CBC being implemented. But outside the classroom, some people think CBC is being implemented. This is because the teachers have not been well trained. So we are calling upon the people concerned to ensure that teachers are well trained so that they can implement CBC well in our classrooms. Now, another area that I would like to talk about is the structure of the Cvc curriculum. So the structure should start from ECD. It is 2663. There is a gap. The PP1 and the PP2 have been left out by the TSC. There is nobody who is taking care of the teachers in the P1 and PP2 classes. So they also need to be trained on how best they can implement CBC because it is a continuation. So if that beginning is left out, then the implementation of CBC will not be complete. And therefore, we call upon the Minister of Education, we call upon the TSC to ensure that those particular teachers in PP1, PP2 are also included during the training of teachers in the primary schools and even in the secondary schools.
One of the key issues that we have talked about and found lacking in special education so that CBC can be fully implemented is the issue of funding. Special education requires funding because it requires special training for the teachers, special equipment for that will be used by those children who have different educational needs, adaptive needs, so that they can be able to accommodate their movement, their visual acuity, and other areas. We also need special equipment for assessment in the ears, like the audiometer, so that after establishing the learner's functions, he can be able now to be properly placed in a class, and that goes with the proper assistance from the teachers. I know some people think that we don't have enough personnel to handle these children. We want to assure you that the teachers are trained, only that most of them are not utilized. The other area that is very important so that the CBC in special education can work is the funding. The funding is very important to enable the activities to be carried on. There have been complaints in some quarters that CBC is expensive. I want to say that it can even be more expensive in this area of SNE. Why? Because we must need special equipment, resources, and even personnel. When we are handling those children, we also need multidisciplinary personnel. We need doctors, we need psychologists, and we also need all other people to come into play so that this child can be well assisted.